they treated Israel like Cancun, you know? And it's crazy, all of a sudden, for some reason, COVID caused this crazy spike in people applying for Aliyah. And what happened? All these people, let's say from America and Canada, apply for Aliyah. Who are most of these people? Religious people, right? People who were either FFB or Baal Tshuva, they applied for Aliyah. And the person who was the head of the Jewish agency at the time, he's now the president of Israel. His name is Herzog, Chaim Herzog. He's anti-religious. So I had friends tell me, and this is like something real, it's not a conspiracy. I had friends tell me left and right, they're like, Tzvi, we applied for Aliyah, and they're asking us for the most absurd documents, absurd things. This is stuff that like I never heard, they never asked me for in my life, and I never heard of people before, even like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I had other friends made Aliyah. I never heard of these cases of, you know, people being asked for this information from the Jewish agency, and it's just absurd. Why? Because they know that most of the people are religious, and they don't, the Jewish agency, or at least this person, they don't want more religious people in this country. He's seeing what's happening with the demographics. He's seeing that basically, you know, everything you guys see in front of you, that's basically going to be the majority of Israel going forward, and they don't want them here. So they're making it extra hard. So our favorite rabbi, Rabbi Mizrahi, it just so happened that I started, or rather, I listened to one of his shiurim after, just out of curiosity. I actually wanted to hear what he had to say about the new government in Israel. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And he started out his, shiur with this, talking about the government, and then he was saying that, like, talking about this issue with Aliyah and all these things. And he said, here's my advice if you want to make Aliyah. Functional, technical advice. Don't sit around in America waiting for your documents to clear. That's going to take forever. It's a pain in the you-know-what. He goes, when the country opens up, Zat Hashem, I mean, at that time it was going to be like July 1st, but now, you know, it's going to be pushed back. He says, when the country opens up, get on a plane, you know, do what you have to do to be able to get on a plane. Take your family, rent an apartment somewhere, wherever you're planning on settling, and then start the process from within the country, making Aliyah. If you have stuff, if you have all these belongings and you didn't get approval for a container, then listen, pay for a container, get a container. It's that important if you want to do it. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much money, you know. You can get the money for that. So he's like, yeah, bring your family, and then from within and then if they try to kick you out, they say, listen, I'm a Jew, I'm seeking asylum in my own country, in Israel. You can't kick me out. I'm not leaving. You're gonna have to come and, you know, with whatever, handcuffs and baseball bats to get me out of here. And yeah, that's basically the story. You know, he said, tell the government there's anti-Semitism in America. This and that. I'm fleeing from all this stuff, and that's it. We're not going anywhere. Me and my family are not going anywhere. We're here. Give us our documents, please. Thank you very much. That was his advice. But you guys see what's going on. It's really the last battle of the era of Rav. You know, it's interesting. Rabbi Yanava, I don't know if you guys listen to him. And see, I'm about to tell you guys something important. And noise. Rabbi Yanava has been saying for a very long time that he's been saying that you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be a thing where people are going to clamor. There you go. Please Hashem, save us now. There you go. Please Hashem, save us now. That's what they're screaming. How appropriate. People are going to be clamoring to get on airplanes. You know, we're not going to have enough airplanes. Elal, whoever. It's interesting. You guys noticed that Elal was about to go under. What happened? It's basically the only airline, the only major airline in Israel. There's a couple of other ones, but they're small. There's a Frum Jew, right? Normally, these people, how do they become billionaires, multimillionaires or billionaires? These guys, they made smart investments in things that can actually be, viable and profitable, not in things that are basically like about to collapse and the business model is horrific, So this frum Jew, I forget his name, from Flatbush, he's I think a billionaire, if not a multimillionaire. He came along and he was like, I'm going to save El Al. He went and he purchased the majority of shares in El Al via his son, who's a citizen of Israel. El Al is it's a dying company, They had to give refunds. It took them about a year to get refunds for, they canceled flights last year or whatever it was. So we understand that, this person is investing not in something that may yield him money. He's investing in what's called zchut. He's investing in merit. When it's going to come time for all of the Jews to get up and come to Israel, he's going to be the one providing them with the means to do so, the jets, the transportation. Not to say maybe there'll be other companies we could use, maybe United, American, whoever it is. Maybe we'll get more planes from somewhere, I don't know. Maybe the aliens would take us home, who knows. But you guys can see that things are happening. Things are happening under our noses. In my opinion, they're hidden in plain sight. But you have to have an eye to see them, to notice them, and to understand from to zoom out and see from the big picture what's happening and why it's happening. And it's all for the Jewish people to be able to come home. And again, even with this government, guys, Rabbi Kessin spoke about it. Dear Lord. Just the noise. Rabbi Kessin spoke about it. He said, listen, the silver lining of this whole thing, even if this government lasts for about a month or 2 months, it's happening, yes. Our Arab friends understand that as well. That's why they're going insane. It's happening. Even with this government, Rabbi Kessin said, one sec, guys. There you go. These guys are answering to what I'm talking about. They're answering they're asking Hashem to save us from this government. But anyway, the point is, so guys are just going through Kaddish and they feel they need to scream. I think, that's right. Sunday, guys, is the fast of the 17th of Tammuz. The 3 weeks begin. And we're hoping that, somebody I'll get back to the government thing in a bit, but somebody posted a meme that said, this year, Lag BaOmer wasn't Lag BaOmer because of what happened. Shavuot wasn't Shavuot because of the Hamas, the Gaza war. And we're hoping that Tisha B'Av will not be Tisha B'Av as well. It'll be a year where everything flips on its head, or as Rabbi Kessin says, so B'Kitzur, Rabbi Kessin said that, if anything, this is preparing the Jewish people, or in Israel, the Jews of Israel, to get used to the idea of having a prime minister or a leader who wears a kippah, or is some level observant, or is connected to Torah, or rabbis in any way. Even if it's for like a month or 2 months or whatever it is. You guys didn't notice this. When Naftali Bennett started his first, I think, session in the Knesset, he said Shehianu. I don't really know when the last time we heard Shehianu from the Prime Minister of Israel. Maybe Menachem Begin, maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't think Bibi even said that. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But guys, a lot of things are happening all at once, and a lot of people, I think I'd say 99% of the world doesn't notice it. I can tell you that most of the people here at this plaza notice it, they understand it. They cannot necessarily put 2 and 2 together, or maybe put into words the picture that they see and express it with relation to what they're seeing in current events, with relation to Torah. There's maybe a couple of people, one of them is Rabbi Kessin, another person's Rabbi Anava, who can do that. There's a few others in Hebrew, Israeli rabbis who can do that, and they have been doing that. But most people see stuff and they understand that what they're seeing from different points and different angles and different things and different spheres. They understand that it's all one package and it's all part of the messianic process. We understand that. The question is, now we have to ask ourselves, where do we fit into all of this, right? Not only that, there's so many people that are turned off, meaning there's so many people that are not even like in that realm or, you know, have even that lens. It's almost as if like the small 1% percentage of the world is using a 4K lens, and the rest of the world is using just a regular HD lens, right? And that's basically the story. So the question is, how do we get people who are using only HD into the 4K mindset? How do we do that? Or maybe we don't even need to, or maybe we have the merit to not be so shocked when, you know, when stuff starts to ramp up, and maybe these guys have to be shocked. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point. Maybe these guys have to be shocked into, and then when they're shocked, you know, they'll do tshuva. Everybody will do tshuva, but especially them. It will be so undeniable for them because it'll be such a shock. It'll be like, oh my God, these people will be like, where did all of this come from? Like, how did we go from like the world treading water with like, you know, social media and politics and nonsense and shtiyot to like, oh my God, Mashiach is here. The people who are not tapped in, the people who are not waiting, the people who are not anticipating and watching and listening and having their eyes open are gonna be totally shocked. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. It's gonna be a shock, really. I think even there's sources that talk about how it will be a shock. It has to be a shock. I will say that to the people who are tapped in, the fact that it happens won't be a shock. The way that it happens will be a shock. You know, we will also be surprised. Listen, I'll tell you guys, a lot of people, even in the Orthodox world, have, I don't want to say they've lost hope, but I don't think that they are in, you know, when they say, yeah, we want Mashiach, we're waiting for Mashiach, they don't, I just don't know if they like, really, they think it's like a cute thing. I don't even know if they need it anymore. Really, listen, I'm being presumptuous. Maybe I don't, you know, I can't get into people's neshama. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they feel. Really, it'd be presumptuous for me to say. But just from talking to people, especially when I was in America, just from talking to different people and seeing where they're at and kind of measuring, you know, turning myself into kind of a human barometer or human, you know, thermometer or whatever you want to say. What I notice is that people are just, again, these are people who grew up Orthodox. And even people who are very learned, they're just not, they stopped waiting. You know, it's like that book, Waiting for Godot. Godot never came, right? So they just stopped waiting. A lot of people, I remember I heard a lot of people when I was in the States, they're like, oh, we don't worry about so much about these things. We just live our life, and when it happens, it happens. And if it happens, we just live our life. We just, you know, we just go about our life and we just go this and go that. And then, this is before COVID, and then COVID happened. I'm like, okay, so now you can't just live your life. Now you have to think about that. Hashem is forcing you to think about that. You don't have a choice. Because there's no more life that you had. And now you're trying to go back to normal. Yeah, we want to go back to normal, back to normal, back to normal, back to normal. You know, I remember so many people were saying like, as if what we had before COVID was normal? You guys think it was normal? In your opinion, that was normal. That life that you thought you had, that we had, the way the world was going was normal. It become even more unnormal since COVID, right? Recently, with all the financial stuff and all the social stuff and political stuff. But you guys thought that the way that we were going was normal? You want to get back to that? It's like the people of Sodom, all of a sudden, you know, the place burns and explodes, and they're like, no, we want to go back to normal. I just don't know. Either I'm crazy or they're crazy. It can't be both. Either we're crazy or they're crazy. You know, the people who want normal, whatever normal was. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. But yeah, guys. With all that said, in connection with what I just said, I was reading a blog from a gentleman by the name of Dov Bar Leib. He goes by that name. An American guy, I guess Baal Tshuva, and he's a very learned person. And he basically wrote a very long thing, which I'll post in the comment section, about why we've been seeing everything the past 6 years, basically the past Shmita cycle, right? And he's basically saying how the last 6 years of the Shmita cycle, with what we saw, basically, starting in 2015, and then Trump got elected in 2016, and then what we saw for 4 years, and then what we saw for the last, 2 years or a year and a half. All these, these witch trials, all this, basically the absence of emet, the absence of emes. You go on social media, you can't say a fact to a person without them calling you a name. You can't say the truth without people acknowledging what you're saying. And not only can't they not acknowledge it, they just call you a name. They label you and they put you in a box, and they say you're like this and you're like that if you think this way. And if you say white is white, they say no, it's not. Don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears. And basically what this guy was saying, that he was saying that this Shmita cycle, the first 6 years, he related it to some tikkunim, and then he says that the last year of the Shmita cycle, and in the run-up to the next Shmita cycle, which we're basically talking about in 2 months, 5782, which is going to be the Shmita year, is going to be the revealing of all the emes, all the truth, and it's going to be sixfold or sevenfold all the sheker all the lies that we've been hearing and seeing for the past 6 years, and it has to be that way. So now you guys see recently with a certain doctor, certain shmeel males that we've read. I don't want the algorithm to catch me. Algo trading. We've heard, we read his emails, and we understand that now all the stuff he said, all the stuff we suspected was true, and all the stuff that he was saying was a lie. Okay? And people are still denying it here and there, Even a person like Jon Stewart, a big leftist, came onto the show of his friend, Stephen Colbert, and he said, gee, I wonder where this thing came from. Could it be a platypus eating a I don't know, tarantula? Could it be, he named some obscure animals that nobody ever thinks about. Could it be this animal eating that animal and having relations with that animal, and then humans eating the animal, the product of those, that the hybrid of those two animals? And it was funny, but he's like, gee, I wonder, hello? And all these lefties on Twitter went insane. They're like, oh, I used to like Jon Stewart, I used to love him, I used to like him, what happened to him, blah, 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 this and that. My friends, at some point, how can such small kids make such big noise? It's amazing to me. At some point, guys, the emes is going to come out. It's going to come out, and it's going to come out in a big way. It's already starting now, but you guys are going to see what is it now? It's probably, end of June, beginning of July. So we're talking another 2 months. 2 months from we're going to have July 4th in America. Another 2 months. That's Rosh Hashanah. You guys are going to see so much emes come out. I don't know if you guys read today. I think it was about an hour ago. I read this on one of the financial sites. Warren Buffett resigned from Bill Gates' board. And the person that posted this on Twitter, a lot of people follow him. He said, I wonder where Ghislaine Maxwell is today. right about now. That's all I'm going to say on the topic, guys. My friends, there is so much stuff under the surface with all of these people, all of these so-called leaders, and all of these so-called officials, and all the so-called public people and celebrities. There's so much stuff under the surface. Something as simple as, I was watching today, I was watching nonsense. I was watching on YouTube, a suggestion popped up for me. It was a podcast of basketball players, former NBA players, and they were talking about, how many NBA players, what is the percentage of NBA players that smoke marijuana during the season? There's a guy, one of the 4 guys sitting in the panel, Matt Barnes. He says, and he was a fairly decent player. He was a defensive player, agitator, whatever. He said that he used to smoke before probably 90 or 95% of his games. He used to smoke marijuana before 99% of his games. And people were like, I mean, it's like not shocking, but at the same time, it's one thing like these guys are recreationally smoking at home, unrelated to their. It's quite another to, you're a professional athlete and you smoke marijuana before the game, just so you could be like, it's interesting. But guys, we hear the stories of like, players being drunk during a game. There's a hockey players or baseball player, nothing new, right? But it's just crazy. There's something as little as that, like we get to see the behind the scenes stuff of all these guys' lives and all these people. We can only imagine what the behind the scenes stuff of politicians is, of big people who we think are like wealthy and VIPs and all this kind of stuff. It all goes back to the Gemara that talks about, the people who are VIPs in this world are absolute nobodies in the Olam Haba, and vice versa. The people who are, so to speak, can't even use the word nobodies, the people who are just, not seen, incognito, not wealthy, not prominent, not this, not that, and the other, these people are, the meek shall inherit the earth. We understand that. Yeah, guys. So, hopefully we're going to see the emes in a couple of months. Hopefully we're going to see it sixfold, 6 times whatever the amount of sheker lies that we saw the last 6 years, we're going to see 6 times the amount in 1 year of truth as sheker that we saw in the last 6 years. God willing, guys. God willing. Because at some point, if you're a person who's tied into the truth, no matter what it is, even if it's left wing, right wing, this, that, if you're a person who's tied into the truth, if you're a person who's, it's all about the truth for you, right? And you're sitting around and you're watching what's going on in the world, and you're going absolutely insane. You literally think you're going crazy. You think you're taking crazy pills. People have convinced you that there's something wrong with you, that they're the sane ones. It's like when you post something on Twitter and somebody responds to you, bad take. It's a bad take. What you're saying is a bad take. You have the wrong opinion. Why? No, I won't tell you. Just my opinion. That's what I feel. I feel. That's what I feel. You're a right-wing white supremacist, racist, and I feel that way, and you have to respect how I feel. I have no proof. I have nothing. I'm going to cancel you. I'm going to block you. And bad take. And you're just sitting there and you're just like, all I did was say the truth. I don't understand what you're talking about. And my friends, at some point, this has to end. This sheker, this rampant disease and virus. More than even COVID, it's a sheker virus. The world has been invaded, the Western world, by a sheker virus. And the irony is, my friends, people in China, people in Russia, they actually are laughing at America and Canada and people, at different, and Europe, Western Europe. They're laughing because these people know the emes and they're not afraid to say it. They don't care if people call them this, that, and the other. They don't care. China doesn't care. Asian people don't care. Russian people don't care. Ukrainians don't care. Eastern Europeans don't care. For some reason, like Americans, Canadians, Western Europeans have some sort of mishigas. I don't know what it is, and it's a. If you guys want to get an insight in what I'm talking about, read the book by Gad Saad. He's a Lebanese Jew. G-A-D, his first name, his last name is S-A-A-D. It's called The Parasitic Mind. He talks about it. There's like a parasite. It's a parasite in people's brains. And I'll just end off with this, my friends. Before the world of truth can come into view, come into reality, the world of sheker has to disappear. And we're living in a world of sheker, and it's like sheker on steroids, and it has to disappear. It's going to disappear, B'ezrat Hashem, in a couple of months. We're seeing it already. People are trying to fight it and deny it. We're seeing, and people understand. People understand that this is, all the stuff we're hearing from people who are just blinded by their own hatred for whether it's one man or a particular group of people or a party or whatever, a political system, whatever it is. they're blinded, and to the point where they're just willing to spread so much sheker around the world, and people, at least 50% of the world, if not more, believes it. Or 50% of the Western countries, developed countries. So, yeah, guys, B'ezrat Hashem, we will see a flood of emes very, very soon, if we're not already. But come Rosh Hashanah, a couple of months. I think it's the first week of September. I'll speak about it more and more, guys, as we get closer, especially during the 3 weeks. I'm going to speak about it more and more. By the way, I don't know if you guys have been watching the podcast. Myself and Ari Lewis have been producing. My friend Ari Lewis has come out of broadcasting retirement. He's already interviewed 3 very interesting people. The first, if you guys go on the YouTube channel, Nation of Israel, and I'll post them here. The first one was Yaakov Fauci, the guy in the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah, the American Baal Tshuva. Very interesting story about the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. He gives it over. Significance to the Jewish people, Shimon HaTzadik, all these things. The second interview we did was Mordechai Kedar. Brilliant. I don't have to tell you guys. The third interview we just conducted yesterday with Mordechai, another Mordechai ben Avraham, who's a African-American convert to Judaism. Very interesting gentleman. And he's releasing a book very soon, published by Koren, one of the biggest publishers in the Jewish world. And we are working on getting a few other people on the podcast, and we're working on something very, very special. I can't tell you guys just yet. I hope it happens very soon. A very, very, very special guest. Somebody who if somebody would told me maybe a year ago that I could even have a chance to interview this guy or that be involved with producing an interview with this guy, if not interview him myself, I would have told you, wow, that's a dream. That's a pipe dream, man. But we'll see what happens. Look out for that. And yeah, guys, it's all about the emes, really. Right behind that wall, that's what we're waiting for. As Matisyahu said, one day, we'll be waiting for the people to say, one day. We won't have to fight no more. There'll be no more war. That's it, my friends. The emes is about to enter the building, and sheker has left it. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.